Good morning, my people. Let me make sure this is working here too. You guys should be able to hear me live. We're here live on YouTube. Let me make sure the Yeah, I think the mic is working good. Welcome everybody. We're here at the Space Water Podcast. You should be able to hear me live. Yep. We're here at the Space Water Podcast, everybody. Shout out to my brother Alexander Mitchell out there. I know he's out there in the cold and things are hard right now, but bro, you're an angel in disguise, and there's a reason why you're posted up in the location that you're in right now. I saw the real person within you and remember you from prior lifetimes, and it's good to see you, old friend. And we are awakening up the angel inside of you. And you're here for a specific reason. I'm gonna wait for some people to join for a second. I'm gonna pull up the chat room on my other screen, but we're here live. Also, people, you can donate at my PayPal. Let me get the link. We'll even do some live readings, crystal skull readings here, um, for people in the chat room throughout the show. Let me get my link. You guys, let me see who's with me in the chat room. Oh, what's up? Oh, Mika. Magic Mike, if Mika, if you can give me if you can go to the mysticalspiral.com and grab the PayPal link off there so we can put it in the chat room because I was trying to do that real quick, but I couldn't talk and do it at the same time. What's up? Oh, Zerolats in the chat room. Typical skeptic. Yo, Rob, what's up, dude? All my manager and my moderators in the chat room right now. Wow, we gonna have all the good all the family here, all the Mystical Spiral team and family is in the house. Glad to have you guys here. We're going to go into some interesting stuff this morning, maybe even do some crystal skull readings. I'm glad you guys are here. We got so much information to speak about. Right now, it is snowing outside as well. It's a winter wonderland. I got the new golden sun, the rise of the winter and the winter solstice outfit on. I only wear this for podcasts. I ain't going into public like this. Shout out to everybody out there. The winter solstice is here. And if you guys even go on my Patreon, I've been posting some interesting information on my Patreon always. You can literally doom scroll on my Patreon. You guys can join my Patreon for as low as $2 a month and you get priceless information on there. Not only information for better living, better healing, mind, body, and soul devices, and also protection from EMF, all that sort of information you can get on my website. But you also have access to some of the most cutting edge information on science, religion, spirituality, and thought. That's at the Mystical Spiral, patreon.com/slash the Mystical Spiral. And of course, you guys can go to my store at the Mystical Spiral store. I have a free information website as well, themysticalspiral.com. It costs me a lot of money to keep all these websites running between the store and the mysticalspiral.com. I don't have any ads on. This is a free channel on YouTube now as well. I don't add it. I have no sponsors. I have no sales pitches. I have none of that going on any of my websites. No Nobody's ads on any of my websites that I make money from or anything like that. It's just free information. And then you have my handmade devices on my store, and as well as some of the world's most ethically sourced and highest quality gemstones and crystals that you can find. Some of the most unique carvings and some of the most incredible energy handmade copper spiral devices that you can find. And of course, right here on YouTube, even though we're demonetized, I don't do this for the money. I never did this for the money. I did this as a passion. But if you guys want to support me, of course, and to keep this show running, because it does cost money to keep platforms going, you guys can donate in my PayPal or go to my store or go to my Patreon. There's many ways to support me, and the PayPal link, Magic Mika is going to put my PayPal link in the chat room as well. You can find my PayPal link right at themysticalspiral.com at the homepage and various places throughout the website. So, yeah, I just had Gary Wayne on the Space Border podcast. This is going to be, I think, episode 44 already of the Space Border podcast. We're going to make this also uh an audio podcast that you guys can get off of Spreaker, like, and I'm gonna make the Spreaker go to all the different platforms. I know Rob from Typical Skeptic was telling me about this, so I'm used to having an audio podcast. I've been doing an audio podcast for years. I had radio show. I have had radio shows before this as well, so I think that'll be successful. A lot of people are into my radio podcast, especially the ones that I do solo, and some of the guests that I have on are very interesting, including Gary Wayne. Gary Wayne was just on winter solstice. He was here, and it's beautiful snowing out right now. It's perfect vibes for all this. Especially if people want to get crystal skull readings throughout tonight's show, we can set that up. I know if Alexander Mitchell makes it to the chat room right now, he's already got he already donated for a reading, so we're gonna get that going first. He'll be the first one to get a reading. But if you guys wouldn't just was in the I don't know if you guys were in the chat room or you saw the show I just did with Gary Wayne, but it already has over 1,000 views in the last 2 days, so a lot of people are already watching it from my channel. So if you guys didn't catch it, we were talking about some of the winter solstice and Christmas time lore and some of the ways that we even invite the Fae and elementals into our homes and even give them offerings. And even though I did bring my daughter up talking about elves and Santa Claus, we really don't put offerings up and invite, make portals into the home like this. It's very interesting when you think of this, and this goes all the way back to Etruscan. I know a lot of people try to say Santa Claus was like an 1800s derived thing, but this goes back way deeper, probably than even the Etruscans. But I know in Tuscany, and this carried over to a lot of Italian American families. Even my friend Paul, him and his family, they did this when they were young, and a lot of Italian families I know of do this. I was well aware of this as a kid that, relatives of mine and, my mom knew of the tradition and everybody knew of the tradition. It's a part of, Italian folklore that it's not actually on winter solstice or December 25th. It's actually January 6th that they have a certain tradition to La Befana. Now, La Befana is the witch, right? She's the strega nonna. She's the old witch. But Befana is not just a witch, she's one of the fates, right? She's one of the ones that spins and weaves the lives of humanity. And the whole thing about having a woven stocking is very symbolic and deep. And the adepts know what it means to La Befana. Now, when you have the woven stocking around the fireplace, right? Now, the fireplace is a place of gathering, it's a place of unity, it's a place of warmth, it's a place of family, right? And you put the woven stockings, right? The one that's hand woven, those stockings originally, right? Around the Christmas tree in anticipation that La Befana is going to bring you a visit. But those woven stockings, and La Befana is going to bring you a visit with these magical gifts according to your own talents and your own psyche and your own wishes and your own, uh, you know, yearnings and your own talents and your own desires, all of that, right? But La Befana wants that woven stocking, and that symbolic is very interesting because La Befana is the one that spins and weaves the lives of the generations, that new generations that arise, and the new kids. And as the kids arise and bring these stockings and offerings to La Befana, La Befana will bless them with gifts that will imprint the patterns of their life, right? Give certain things that will stamp and imprint and spin and weave the lives throughout the year of the child, right? So if you're into music, right, La Befana might bless you with a guitar, and this guitar will be almost like a magical guitar, right? It'll teach you more than any other guitar will teach you, right? Because you brought the energy and the spirit and the imprint of this ancient gnosis, right, of La Befana, and it's connected deep to the ancient Etruscan and the Tuscany area of belief systems, but it's all over Italy, not just northern Italy, like where Tuscany is, but all over the Mediterranean in various forms, sometimes in different sound shift names of La Befana, but sometimes different names altogether, right? But very similar characteristics. And this translates over to, Slavic folklore and various other folklores that are very similar, right? It's very in it's much I'm given sort of the cliff notes of it all, but it's much deeper, because like not just do they spin the lives of humans, and it starts when you're a child, but it's weaving the pattern of each and every individual's very existence, right? And then that that stocking that's being woven of your life, at the very end of your life, the thread is cut when that design is complete, right? That pattern is done and the design of your life is complete. The thread is that, thread is now being cut. All right. That's a very interesting. Oh, Merry Christmas to everybody as well in the chat room. It's very symbolic and very powerful. And these gatherings around the fireplace and the fireplace in general, people that like to use the fireplace and have their family gather it. It's a sign of wanting to be part of a family and wanting that unity and warmth. You know, um, it's about unity, and it's always been a gathering place of companionship, of warmth, of food, of knowledge, right? And in ancient Italy, and even in modern times, a lot of families still continue this. They would call it aveia, right? It's spelled Veglia, but it's pronounced like they. It's pronounced like VeyNah, like Vena, like that. It's Vedia, but like that, like Veya, like Vehyaa, kind of Veya, like that. It's that GL is sort of pronounced like a ya. So it's Veya. Veya is basically like a gathering around the fireplace. Do I have the book? No, I think it's upstairs on the bookshelves upstairs. I have a book about the Veja in Italian, but a lot of it's written in Italian, but it's upstairs. I forget the author's name, but there's a really good book on those Vejas, because a lot of hereditary Italian families, they would gather around the fire and they would pass down the oral traditions and the ancient stories of the gods, and sometimes they would even make it fun, and different family members would take different forms in the story. Like the mother and father would be the god and the goddess, or the king and queen in the story, and so on, right? Yeah, I'm styling for the solstice, right? We got the winter solstice, even though it's snowing outside. I got the new golden sun, right? So these are not primitive practices like people think. These are not, uh, just primitive belief systems. I mean, a lot of people even thought during the Inquisition people were getting killed because of their primitive ways of healing. But people got to take another look at this, because a lot of healing does come from the spiritual realms. A lot of diseases might, I'm not saying it does, because I'll probably get totally taken down on my channel. Not only am I demonetized now, they'll probably just take my whole channel down if I say, but in my opinion, I would say that sicknesses do arise from the spiritual realms, right? And when you do spiritual symbolic practices, sometimes it's very powerful with taking away sicknesses just as quick as they arose, right? So, um, one of the things that I even like to use and suggest for people is to pull away. Sometimes, if the body is sick with something, you can lay on the shoreline, especially if it's a saltwater shoreline. And sometimes, people don't have that option where they live or whatever, but there's other ways of symbolically doing this with water as well. But if it's something that where the tide is coming in and then can come over you and then just pull out, right? That's the power that we're talking about. And what I do usually is put a barrier behind you of seashells, white seashells. And the number of them could be different depending on certain things. I usually use nine. And you put, like, in almost like a half moon around you of seashells to form that barrier around you. And you're going to lay on the shore where the tide is going to come in, where it literally is going to pull over you and not pass the barrier and go out. You could time it and then pull out. And you're going to do the symbolism that whatever sickness is in your bodies, and you can even do mantras along with it in song and stuff like that, that it's going, you're visualizing it pulling the cancers out, or pulling the pain out, or pulling the stress out, or pulling the trauma out, or pulling what have you out of your body. And this has long been used in the Mediterranean, and I'm sure all over the world, not just within Tuscan quote unquote witchcraft, or Etruscan mysticism or spiritualism, but all over the world it's been used in certain ways. And people, during the Inquisition, they were they were definitely, some put to death over that, right? Unalived, right? So the tide will carry away the soilings, not just within you, but within the water and everything that is there. And the disease is going to disappear with the tide, right? And it's important also during these rituals, if you want to call them rituals, um, you also look at the moon phases, the ocean tide, all of this. You want to look at the alignments going on. It's very important that you do all that. You guys can talk if you ever guys ever wanted to do this, one of these things for yourself. You can definitely call me up for a consultation. I don't charge for healing uh, advice like that. So, but if you guys wanted to ever hire me to help out with things like that, I can also do that as well. Um, but I'm open for talking if people need advice on how to do something for yourself. Uh, it's you guys can look in all sorts of the records too. People have in the 1500s. There was one woman, Elena Draga. Uh, she was in 1571, and she was definitely brought before the Inquisition, because it's been written about in books. There's records of it, and she did various things of pulling out diseases of people, rubbing, rubbing things on people like to get away warts or something like that. She would rub something on the wart or like a piece of meat or something like this, right? And then bury the meat probably in the dirt or something like that, and or put it away somewhere so it rots, and as it starts to decay, the wart will fall off, and things like that. And it's the same thing. She was also in the writings. She was using water, the ocean tide, to pull out diseases. And you know, there's also what's called um uh Chioggian, uh or Chioggia. There's a place in Italy called Chioggia, and Chioggia. It kind of translate. It doesn't make sense what it translates as because it's like uh who today? Because Oggia Oggia is it's spelled Ogggia, but it's spelled like it's pronounced like Jah. Oggia is today, and chi is who in Italian. So Chioggia. I don't know if that makes sense for the name of the name of the town, but it's a very famous area in Italy that's right next to Venice, and has deep stories about La Befana in that area, and witches, right? People can look it up. Oh, Charlotte's here too. Welcome, Sovereign, Cosmic, Wild Man. Welcome, Randall Hill. Yeah, I'm styling. Thanks, bro. Um, yeah, guys, get the if you can, Magic Mika, if you can, Micah, babe, if you can get the PayPal link off themysticalspiral.com. You guys, if you want crystal skull readings as well throughout the show, I already had one from Alexander J. Mitchell. I don't know if he's going to show up here, but you guys can donate right at my PayPal link. I can't get him here right now because I'm demonetized. We definitely need the support as well here on the Space Water podcast. Um, you guys can donate right at my PayPal, or you could go to the Mystical Spiral store as well if you're looking for some of my products. We got incredible sales. Let me guys show you before we get further into the podcast. Check this out. Hold on, let me pull this out. You guys, I've never had these kind of sales up on my website for the holidays. Let me share screen with you guys real quick. This shit will let me. So check this out. Get some water. Not only have I put really low prices up on the website and slashed prices, but not on top of the slashed sales, we also put up a 25% off code for the Christmas holidays. Thank you, babe. Magic Mike could put up the PayPal link. If you guys want to donate, we can also do crystal skull readings for people. And if I'm doing the readings and people can't afford a crystal skull reading live, to donate something to support, of course, I'll do a quick one for people if they can't afford it for Christmas, but I won't go too in depth. I'll just do a basic one for people. But you can support me right at the PayPal link, and you guys can see, look at these amazing. We got the coupon code, so anything over $45, you guys can get an extra 25% off. And we also have slashed prices, huge sales up. Um, and I just put up all new products. So incredible, guys. Just something like this. These are hand sourced Herkimer diamonds from the upstate New York mine. And you guys can see, check this out, how amazing these are. And you get 25% off that. Look at the rainbow, the double terminated Herkimer diamond. I also wrap these as pendants. This one is just really badass, and the the rainbow, and there's like water bubbles inside them. Some of them have like water bubbles inside, ancient water, and some of them have like little petroleum deposits, and they're double terminated, and these are the highest quality. Look at that rainbow in there. Insane. And you guys can get this for 25% off. And not only does it come with free shipping in the United States, but you get a free gift package. So I'm giving extra Herkimer diamonds and other gift packages for the holidays. And I always, no matter what time of year, give a free gift with every purchase. So you guys can get this right now at the Mystical Spiral store. And you can also get custom orders. I make custom orders. I have more inventory. I put new inventory up every day. So if you guys don't see something you're looking for up here, I have other stuff in my inventory that's not up on the website. So as more stuff sell, I put up more products every day. And I'm always, some of my inventory is for me making pendants as well. So I'm making pendants with the inventory. But if you guys looking for something, or if you want something specific carved, or a specific pendant or piece of copper made, you guys can have custom orders. I do custom orders all the time, especially with human-sized skulls, human-sized dragon skulls. Those types of ones I typically don't put on the website pre-made because they're big and they cost a lot for the material. So anything monster size. I do have some big specimens up on the website though. You guys can go to crystals if you guys are looking like for specimens or free forms or big pieces. I do have big pieces up on the website available, all sizes actually as well. But you guys can see some of the bigger pieces. Like you guys can get 25% off this hand sourced volcanic agate, and it's UV reactive right now. This is huge. This is 2 pounds and 14.4 ounces. This one, it's a monster. Look at how beautiful this slab of agate is right there. It's like a purplish blue with the agate. The underneath is beautiful agate as well. But look at the texture on the top. It's like coral, right? Beautiful. And then wait till you see what happens when you put the UV light on it in the black light. It turns into like Incredible Hulk kryptonite. And look at that beautiful agate on the bottom too. Beautiful smoothness. And then watch with the UV light. Look at that. It's like green coral, radioactive. It's just amazing. Incredible, guys. You can get 25% off that beautiful piece. And this was brought to the North Salem, New York Balanced Rock and imprinted at a sacred dolmen. So it's a really special and one of a kind. Um, there's a lot of beautiful specimens like that, like the green fluorite that were imprinted at the Balanced Rock. You guys can see I even have written here dolmen imprint. They were brought to the Balanced Rock. So it's very special, some of these pieces. Um, I also have some programmed. Why is that locked up like that? So I also have some programmed crystals as well. And all price ranges, everybody, all price ranges. You can literally get Herkimer diamonds for pendant for 30 bucks right here. And that's including shipping and a free gift and necklace material. So definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. And I highly recommend even spirit quartz. Uh, this one, I wear one like this almost every day right here. That's over 44 inches of twisted copper in there as well, and it's got the dream amethyst. This is mine. I wear one just like it every day. Let me stop. This is my one right here that I wear. I've been wearing this one a while. That's my own personal one. So you guys can check that out. And you got the coupon code up there for the holidays at the Mystical Spiral store. Thank you guys. But yeah, let's get back into it. So you guys, when I did the show with Gary Wayne, we were talking a lot about La Befana, but I didn't get into like Chioggia and the different places of Italy. Um, and Charles Leyland wrote about these places as well in the 1800s. Welcome, Brandy. Also, I'll give a shout out to the chat room. You got Brandy Herrera. Herrera, is that Is that from Brazil? You got Randall Hill, Magic Micah, Sovereign, Cosmic, Wild Man. Yo, what's up to you? Jay Leone, Absolute Virgin. Yeah, people love to friggin' bomb this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch how quick. Boom. My wife's literally in the chat room. So, people can't be smart without being he don't realize I'm a stud, dude. I've always been a stud. Later, bro. I might even give somebody a chance to look at my channel. But so when it comes to the even the mountain districts of northern Italy, a lot of these preserved traditions stayed a long time. Even places like islands, even like off of the Mediterranean, like Sardinia, places like that. Um, a lot of megalithic sites even were undisturbed all the way till the 1970s, sometimes even later, right? There's maybe even places in Sardinia and that has still have not been excavated that have giants in them. And I'm talking when I mean giants, they're these tribes that were in there. I mean, some of them related to the Phoenicians, some of them way older. They were like anywhere between over 6'9" and 10 feet or more, some of them, right? Um, Guy I spoke to that lives in Sardinia, Luigi Muscus, he doesn't speak English, right? But he writes about the giants of Sardinia, right? And how these glowing orbs that everybody's talking about now in the news is associated with the giants and the megalithic sites, specifically in Sardinia, but all over the planet, right? And this book I've had since 2017, right? So nobody really knows about this book because it's in Italian, and then the English translation is not so good. Um, so it got unlooked. But I think Gaia TV, when Gaia first came out, did feature this man and did like a little expose on him. But this was years and years ago. Probably people don't realize it, but he talks about how, Sardinia is a very secluded area, and a lot of I mean, it's a place that has huge megalithic temples all over them. Um, I got many books that you guys can see. Some of the Naragis of Sardinia, um, and the beautiful places of Sardinia. I mean, can I show you like some of the huge Naragi temples of Sardinia? Look at these Naragis over here, these huge megalith dolmens, right? And look at the stone, the wheeled civilizations, right? And the beautiful standing stones and menhirs, and these beautiful standing stones and menhirs everywhere, like natural, stone obelisks, right? Basically. And then they had ziggurats, like ziggurat pyramids, right? Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, in the beginning it was, not no more. I agree, Brandy. I agree. And it's just a beautiful place. Beautiful place. I have a whole bunch of other books on like some of the legends of Sardinia, but uh the menhirs, the Naragis, all of the ancient stories of Sardinia, a lot of them had giants buried within. And when they were being excavated, yeah, the fairy portals. The when they were being excavated, local people from Sardinia were being hired to help excavate these places. right? So Luigi was one of these people where him and his relatives were helping excavate. In fact, he played when he was a kid inside one of those uh ancient burial grounds for the giants, and one in fact giant that he played with that was in one of the tombs was mummified so well you can see the tendons in the arm, and sometimes when they would play with one of the fingers the tendon would move on the forearm. They would see it like the vein tendon, so that's how well it was mummified and still intact, right? And they would go in there and play after school and stuff like that. And then one day when they went to go play there was all military there, and they were taking things out on flatbed trucks and on pallets. And his uncle at the time was helping excavate it at the time. And then when he got old enough, he was also helping excavate some of these sites. And he talks about it, and he has testimonials from all the locals that he knows, some of them even within his family, in one of his books here that I have. These are testimonials. I tried to have him on my show, but he doesn't speak English, so he didn't want to come on. But I actually called him in Sardinia and spoke a little Italian with him. But he has these interviews right here with his uncle, and all these different people with testimonials, right? All these testimonials where people witness giants, burials of giants. I mean, not alive giants, burial giants buried and being taken away, right? And also how these flying orbs seem to be related. They are walking stars. And these are the same pictures that people are showing in the news today, right? These plasma orbs, right? He calls them the walking stars, right? So he has a whole chapter. It's not a big book, this one here, but it's not. But there's a whole chapter on and with pictures of him describing those orbs and how they're related. Very interesting, right? Yeah, I don't know if Alexander Mitchell is going to come, but he's definitely going to get a reading. We could do a reading for him, but maybe I could try to contact him. Yeah, it's a very mysterious place, Sardinia. But they're one of the tribes that of the giants on the planet, and people that have been following my show, they, have seen probably me and Gary Wayne talk about the giants. Now, they weren't just giants in wisdom, the ancient cultures. They had giants in stature as well, right? And this has been a massive cover up. And today's show, we're gonna get pretty deep. We're gonna be talking about some deep stuff. We'll talk about and decode some of the most incredible and ancient and most important stories that we have in ancient sacred writings. Yep, those are the same orbs, and we were talking about them. I've gotten those same orbs on video myself since 2015, 2017. I guys can show you right here on my YouTube. I can go and show you guys right in my playlist. I have a playlist that says my UFO sightings, and they're these plasma orbs that I got on video that are reddish, fiery, golden sun like red, and they're vibrating and morphing and pulsating and completely silent. And one I got in was in Pine Bush, Middletown, New York, and the other one was in the lower Hudson Valley over the Haverstraw Bay, Hudson River. Um, One was in 2015, 16, something like around there, and the other one was about 2019 or 20, maybe a little after 20. I got them. You could see the dates on there on my videos. I don't remember the exact date right now, but I've seen them other times, but those two times were the times I was able to get pretty good videos on them. The second one, even better video because my cell phone quality was better at the time. The first one I got it on the very first uh BlackBerry ones. What are they called? Blackberries. The ones that had those keyboards with the scroll ball. That one. And the phone wasn't that great. The camera wasn't that great, and it was in the dark. And I was like trying to get it, so it wasn't that great, but you guys, it's an amazing video. It's just you had to have been there to see how vivid it was, like almost like a Chinese lantern, right? But it was sentient and moving around, and it was completely silent. It was incredible, and there was seven of them in formation at first when I first saw it out the window. Then I went and grabbed my phone and ran outside, and by the time I ran outside, there was one that just came down and like let me video it, like came down and like pulsated for me. And what's interesting is that I didn't really have a telepathic or anything experience at the time. There was no fear involved. I was recording it actually and talking in the video, but following that, because it morphed and pulsated during that video to me. And I even on the video, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy what it just did. I think at that point, something was telepathically relayed to me. And I just wasn't aware because my interests and the focus of my research, uh, it became more clear, it became more specific. And before that, I sort of was like researching and searching without knowing looking for connections and but not knowing what connections I was looking for. Then all of a sudden I understood it all. I understood the the connections I was looking for. I understood the focus of my research was more specific, and it really had to do with plasma and the creation of the universe and all the sort of sentient plasma intelligences and streams of plasma and sentient matter that we don't understand. And I started to things started to connect, and then I started being after that, I didn't even correlate the connection at first, but following that first event with that pulsating orb that I got on video, after that is when I really started going to the balanced rock, the red granite dolmen that I go to. That's a very ancient dolmen here in the Hudson Valley. Uh, and other research became more specific. So I do think it is some sort of sentient intelligence, maybe even an angelic intelligence. And we have all sorts of levels and hierarchies of celestial intelligences within our planet and within the universe. And it's talked about in all writings. And all these ancient sacred writings can't be wrong, right? It's just misunderstood, right? And especially even the book of Genesis, right? And I've talked about it, and the Bible. There's even two narratives in the Bible that people don't even realize. All right, and we're going to get into this in what happened, brother. What's up, Randall Hill? Somebody's talking crap? I don't see anybody talking crap. What's up, Johnny? Who's demanding me? I don't care if somebody calls me any names, bro. Let them come at me and see what happens. Early 1900s, there were newspaper articles about giants buried everywhere in the States. Do you th do you th do you th do you think these things are flying close to those sites? Yes. Yes. I don't see what you're talking about, Randall. Somebody said something? Yeah, those are the same orbs. Yeah. What's up, everybody? I don't understand What's going on in the chat room? I don't understand what that comment was about. Randall Hill. Tell me what's up, bro. But yeah, there's two narratives and accounts of the origin of man in the Bible, and I talked about this before, right? And I don't know if people realize it, but I'm going to get into it with Gary Wayne in our next show probably. Well, this time we went over Father Christmas and everything like that. But you have the Elohistic and the Jehovistic, right? Narratives. And the Elohistic is the oldest and the earliest of these narratives, or the, how you want to look at it. What about the Randall comment, Brandy? You do what? I don't understand. I don't get it because I didn't understand what that comment came from. It was towards me, something towards me. I don't know. I don't want to argue with anybody about anything either. So if you got a problem with me or anything else, then why are you listening? Go. Somebody should go. If there's a problem with me, I don't care if someone's got a problem with me. I'm here offering information for free up here doing a show. So if people want to listen to my channel for free information, that's fine. But I also, you guys want to support me, you guys can donate at my PayPal. If you guys want a reading tonight, we also have readings that we'll do for people. So it was Leon. Well, who was Leon? Oh, that guy that left? Bro, I'm not worried about that shit. You know what it is? I'll make this kind of comment right now. When you do a live show on YouTube, there's people that are going to come that are not your subscribers, because there's people that like to just look to see what's live. So there's a live spot on YouTube, and it's there on your cell phones or your laptops or whatever. And people sometimes just like to see what's live and go in the live chats. So there's a lot of people that will just see that I'm live because my channel doesn't have a tremendous a lot of subscribers, but my channel has enough subscribers where it's on the live feed. So I'll get people that are not my subscribers and don't want to be here into the chat. And of course they'll look at you and comment just at first notice. They'll look at this guy wearing shiny gold and who the hell does he think he is, right? They don't know who I am or anything like that. So of course they're gonna talk shit, bro. I ain't worried about that. I've been handling my own for my whole life. So there is a boxer I know that's Jay Leone. That's interesting. But somebody wants to bother me, whatever. Why is this dude even back though? Dude just wants to just come back and hang out like why he used another account to come back. That's how lonely he is. So um then there's these two accounts in the Bible. So let's get into this, right? It's funny to me, dude. It's really funny. I laugh because get off, why are you so magnetized to me, dude? Like, I'm that important to you. You gotta come and waste that much time of your life to use a different channel, even. Come back. It's that important. So, we got different narratives in the Bible about how man was created. And the Elohistic narrative is that oldest narrative where it deals with the first appearance of humans on Earth. And some think it's the quote unquote re-inhabitation and the formation of this present cosmos that we have. And the Jehovistic account is much more, uh, you know, they only think the origin of man is from the Adamic race or Caucasian race, and I don't mean white when I say that, right? Because we're talking about they mean from Adam but Adam, the Caucasian race, it doesn't, they're sometimes called the white race, but it doesn't always mean the color of the skin because some of them are very dark. In fact, in the writings, they put them like they're even darker than the darkest of the African, right? And some of them um like the Bishareen and other tribes that inhabit the African coast of the Red Sea and the Black Moors of Senegal, all of these, the Aryan Hindus, have very dark skin, very dark skin. And even the Black Jews of um Waragla, I think they're called. The it's spelled Waregla, Waregla, and they had light hair and blue eyes. People can look that up. Really incredible, right? There's all sorts of Aryans that were dark, right? So during those days is when the Bible said the giants walked on earth. And afterwards as well, they say even afterwards, right? And the Anakim were these descendants of the Nephilim, and they were these giant tribes. And they didn't just have the Anakim; they had the Rephaim, they had the Amalekites, they had the Elamites, they had the Zamzumum, right? They had the Horites, the Emim, the Amaleks and Amalekites, and all of these, right? The Edomites. I think I might have said that, but all of these different, right? So they have them right in the Bible. In the book of Numbers, they talk about it. The Horites, they had preceded the Edomites in when they talk about when they were occupying the Mount Seir, right? And this was a huge rock dwelling, like Petra, like that one, right? It's just this ancient rock metropolis, right? And for long periods of times, the tribes of giants were inhabiting that dwelling of Mount Seir. And this is a biblical spot. This is biblical archaeology here, right? And they had all sorts of sacred grottos and temples that were chiseled right out of the rock. And this comes right from Hindu Aryan, right? This comes right from even in ancient India. This knowledge comes from, right? Where they would even excavate right out of the basalt from the basalt events that would happen from volcanism and solar events, right? And by me working with these sacred sites and working with even crystals and copper at these sites, I have been shown some powerful things. I was even shown about the creation of man. And people don't have to take my word for it. They don't have to take what I say as true. But I was shown that literally s- the the DNA and bacteria for what became humanity, it came down from either an asteroid or a meteor or some sort of falling fiery stone that came down, right? And it was deposited into a muddy, like when it impacted, right? It was in a muddy, like petri dish almost. You can look at it like and even at one point it was like a large, shallow, muddy puddle type area, right? And then literally the sun, the finger of God, gave some sort of solar discharge lightning event that lit that blasted into that petri dish of DNA, that blasted into that petri dish of mud, and that sparked the life of human, right? And this is why they say we were formed and created and from clay. This is why they say this. It was literally a lightning bolt from the sun into a shallow pool of DNA basically that was brought here from the cosmos. And I truly think this is how life was first sparked on the planet. And there's some you know, evidence in the writings to point that out as well. It can be interpreted this way if you look at it. So it's very interesting. But yeah, we had all sorts of giant races that had these temples and had these grottos and had this knowledge on the planet. We had in the Bible, if in Genesis 14:5, you can see that there's powerful prehistoric giant races that were reduced even by the kings of Elam that were in these alliances with different other kings, like King Amurabi, the king of Shumer, right? Eru Aku, all these different kings that were taking possession even of Mount Seir, like the Edomites, the land of Emim, the Moabites, all of these people were involved. I think that's the the snow plows outside. Why is he stopping in front of my snow plows are outside right now? Well, these giant races like the Anakim and the Rephaim that were descended from the prehistoric Nephilim. It's talked about in Genesis 6:4 and Numbers 13:33. And the Rephaim, we are told, and I talked about this with Gary in our show that we did on Saturday on winter solstice, that they occupied their capital city in Bashan, right? King Og had, but it was originally called Ashtaroth Quar Naim. And we're going to get into this Ashtaroth and the Queen of Heaven, and it's going to be a longer show today. So you guys can support me at PayPal. This is going to be some bombast, and if you want to support, and also throughout the show, we're going to be doing readings for people as well. But this is going to be a pretty long show because we're going to get pretty deep. Ashtaroth, and this is going to be information for you guys that's going to be very, very interesting because we're going to get into the Ashtaroth, which is the Queen of Heaven. This is the origin, sometimes people think, of the Immaculate Conception and how it was also passed down within bloodlines. Even Akhenaten's bloodline, some people think, had an Immaculate Conception. And this was Akhenaten's father, who some say was Amenhotep III, he was birthed by Mutemwa, and his mother supposedly gave birth to Amenhotep III without getting pregnant by a man, by being impregnated by the light, by putting a quote unquote ankh to her chest, and the light impregnated her. Now, if I'm saying that it is the coronal loop, the plasma loops that are coming from the sun, that is the origins of the loop, then oh my God, that is very, very intense because the light literally brought to life a being inside a woman, and this is quite possible. This can definitely happen, in my opinion. It's sentient, and we're going to talk about this as well. And the original capital city of the Rephaim was Astaroth Quar Naim. Now you can interpret this and translate this Astaroth Quar Naim in different ways. Quar Naim can also be translated like the womb of Astaroth, or it could be translated as the horns of Astaroth as well, right? So there's two different ways to translate that, and we'll get into that translation in a little while as well. But this also is linked to the name Astarte, right? Ashtaroth and Astarte. So two-horned Astarte, the womb of Ashtaroth, is like almost the same sort of sentence, even though it sounds completely different, right? And some say it means a worshipping the moon, but it's also very related to the sun. Uh, they were worshipped alongside Baal of the sun, and they were also, it can be looked at as a solar deity at night, right? The sun and the moon are intimately involved with each other, and they were also linked to the cults of the Black Stone. And some of the first religions on the planet had to do with the cults of the Black Stone. And we also going to get into that a little bit as well. And we learn also that the Anakim had a very interesting stuff that goes right to biblical archaeology now as well. That their chief city was Hebron, right? Which originally was called Kirjath Arba. And Arba, from the name Arba, who was the father of Anak, right? He and that this was, the story goes that it was built 7 years before Zoan in Egypt, and Zoan maybe at one time could have even been a capital in Egypt because it literally gave its name to the whole country at one time. In Isaiah 19:11, 1913, 19:11 and 13, you can look up about all of that in the Bible. And this was before the reign of Menes. It had to have been because it was about 800 years before the time of Moses went to Memphis this time. So it was one of the rise of the Anakim. They are these, and the Nephilim, these are like these inhabitants or aboriginals of the planet, right? Yeah, the Black Stone is like in Islam. So Islam is just the modern day worship of the Betlos stone, the black stone, the cornerstone. And you see how they have it in the corner of Mecca, right? That's where you get that term, the cornerstone, right? Because they would put the magnetic eye on even they would use this magnetic eye even on oh, John Pax. We got a donation as well in the chat room. $5 donation, John Pax. Put John Pax on the list. John Pax is in the chat room here. No doubt. John Pax in the chat room. We got you, brother. So the first, uh, very, very ancient. No, I wouldn't say it's black goo, but what's interesting is that there is meteorites do have ancient. It has the building blocks of life that they're carrying, right? When you have meteors come down, they are holding the goo of life within inside, right? Oh, Cancer Moon, that's you? Let me write it down. Write you down on the list. I'm gonna wait for Alexander too to see if he comes in. If he doesn't come in, then you'll be the first when we get to the readings. Let me write you down. John Pax. It's Cancer Moon. I'm a Cancer Moon as well. I'm July 12th. So yeah, I've done shows on the Black Stone. I mean, we can get into it. I mean, you even had Roman emperors that were from the cult of the Black Stone, right? I mean, you had Elagabalus, right? Elagabalus, and in his name is literally El Baal, right? All of that is in his name, Elagabalus, right? He's literally the sun god and the god of the meteor, right? The priest of the Black Stone, and he was from the Black Stone of Emesa, which was in Syria, right? And from Syria is sort of like northern Syria, and Syria, all that area is sort of like the home of the Black Stone worship, one of the homes of the Black Stone worship, right? And Elagabalus wasn't the first, but he was one of the most famous, and he was short-lived. In fact, Elagabalus, he only lived a couple of years as Roman emperor. He died at like 18 or 19 years old. I have to look it up exactly his age. I have it written down in my. I have a whole chapter, a long chapter about it. Probably could turn it into its own book about the black stone, the priest of the black stone, and the black stone worship. I even go into how I believe Jethro from the Bible was part of the black stone priesthood. He was a high priest of Midian, and then he was converted into Christianity. Then he went on to even be the father-in-law to Moses and tutor Moses for 40 years. But before he was Moses was his understudy. You know, Moses was the understudy under Jethro. Before that, he was the priest of a high priest of Midian, and most likely the priest of the Black Stone. And this all comes from walking 7 times around the temple, and this all comes from ancient Syria and those tribes, right? So yeah, they had the black stone of Emesa and the Sibyl's needle, all of these black stones, and they were brought from, the woman seer would embody the stone and be in communion with it, and they would have her sit on a temple seat on a megalithic like altar, like a stone altar, right? And the stone would be brought from temple to temple. It was at one time housed in Baalbek. It was brought, it was brought to the Palatine Hill and housed in the temple there at one time with Elagabalus, right? It was brought all different temples. It was brought different periods at Delphi. All these different Sibyls would bring these different, black stones. They had the Sibyl's needle. They had a few different ones that were brought to different temples. And this is some people believe that it's the origins of mother and child, how they would swoon the black stone, and carry it on chariots. And in fact, you can see it even, let me get you guys, let me see if I could find you in my work here. I'll show you how they were carrying it, and they even had it on coins. I know I have it here somewhere. I have like the pictures of the printed coins. Yeah, check this out. Yeah, it's in here. Thought I had a better picture than that, but I'll show you guys what I mean. I could probably pull it up online better than these pictures from photocopies. Um, well, this is one photocopy where you could see how they're carrying it. Oh, you're not gonna be able to see it, huh? Fuck that. I'll show you guys what I mean. I'll pull it up online. But they're carrying it on chariots. Hey, what's up, Isaac? Good to see you, man. Good to see you, Isaac. Good to see you, brother. But I'll show you guys what I mean. I bet you if I just put, yeah, see, look, um, this is one of the coins. Shit. This is one of the coins of the meteorite Betlo stone. that they would house in the temple, right? And they also would carry it on chariots. And it's the symbol of the Omphalos stone with the snake wrapped around it as well, right? And it's one of the oldest forms of worship. And it was carried from temple to temple, these meteorites, like the Sibyl's needle was one of them. And some of the priesthoods, even like the Essenes and Elagabalus was going to do this. The men that were involved were eunuchs, right? Were castrated. So very, very intense stuff here. See the stone of Emesa. That's exactly what I was talking about. The black stone of Emesa. And Emesa is in Syria. I've done shows on that in the past, right? So if you guys are just joining me, we were talking about Befana and some of the Italian traditions on Christmas and winter solstice and on January 6th. And we also were getting into some of the different, if you're just joining us, we were getting into also some of the Eloistic and the Jehovistic accounts of the creation of man in the Bible and the vision I was given about the creation of man and the solar discharge event in the petri dish of mud on the planet that had DNA in it that was deposited from the cosmos, from meteor showers or what have you, an asteroid. And this was the lightning flash that sparked life on our planet. And, we've had this being Christmas time of year, before we get into Gilgamesh and the story and decoding of the flames of God and the swords of the dragon, slaying the dragon, we're going to get deep into this, what these accounts actually mean and how it's talking about the solar flame of the sun and the magnetic shield swallowing that, and then the magnetic shield being destroyed and it letting in a flood of aurora and a flood of cosmic radiation and light. We're going to be talking about that as well, and all the different stories that go along with this. We're going to be breaking down like never before, like Gilgamesh and the Hulapu tree, Michael and the dragon, Indra and Vitra, and so much more, right? But also, this being the time of year, they talk about messiahs, right? We talk about Christ as well. Been a lot of figures, I think, that have got even entwined with the Christ figure that people don't tend to talk about too much. If you have Jesus of Nazareth, who was born between basically like 9 and 6 BC, right? Because they call it even before Christ, right? And he died, some people think that he died like around 30 or 33 AD, right? Because they link his, but I think he actually was born like 6 to 9 years before they say, right? That's what some people actually think too, as well, in scholarly writings. But he died somewhere between 30 and 33 AD, somewhere around there, right? But you had another figure that was written about in Josephus that had some of the miracles of Christ entwined with it that I always found interesting, right? So you had, well, even though Jesus died in like 33 or 33, 30 or whatever AD, his ministry and movement, his mass movement, didn't start until a century or so after his execution by the Romans, right? The more popular, supposedly, supposedly, right? And this is from historians now. We're going to talk about like Josephus, one of the historians. The more popular person during that day was a certain guy named Theudas, right? He was spelled Theudas. And according to Josephus, he persuaded a great part of the people, and he persuaded them to follow him down to the River Jordan, which he promised he would part at his command. And he was basically captured and beheaded by the Romans, and with a lot of his followers as well, in about 45 AD. So that's a little bit after Jesus, like 15 or maybe a little less than 15 years, 12 years or so after Jesus was said to have died or been crucified. But some of that parting the river story that's associated with Moses and the Bible, I mean, there's different things that seem to be entwined with the story, and Josephus said this man was during the time of Jesus. His name was Theudas, and he was sort of a Messiah type figure. He had a lot of followers, and he was doing miracles. And you have in Hebrew, you have two messiahs. They don't believe in Christ being the Messiah. They believe in two messiahs. You have the Messiah ben David and the Messiah ben Yosef, right? And but they've had all of these false messiahs arise throughout the years as well, from Zabbatai Zevi. You had uh, there was this guy Menahim ben Judah ben Hezekiah. That's his name. He was a leader of a Jewish uprising that happened against the Romans, and he had all sorts of messianic sort of vibes, right? And he was killed by the Jewish um insurgents in Jerusalem in 68 AD. And that name Menahem, that's sort of been used in messianic connotations throughout the years and through centuries and centuries and centuries. Military leaders and different people have claimed to be messianic figures. Um, there was Shimon Bar Kokba, as I think I'm pronouncing that less, or maybe you could pronounce it with the original. It Shimon Bar Ben Kozba. That's the original, but I think it was changed to Kokba. But Ben Kozba is the original, and he fought against the legions of Rome. Like he was a warrior, right? And he held out against them for like 3 years before he was overwhelmed by the Roman forces and slain in battle in about 135 AD. And he was a warlord. He's a Jewish warlord. And this was actually talked about and construed as a proven fact that he was indeed the Messiah ben Yosef, because in the prophecies, Messiah ben Yosef was destined to fight and be killed prior to the coming of the Messiah ben David. So this to them was a fulfillment of that prophecy, right? And he was a warlord, and he supposedly this fulfilled one of their prophecies of the two messiahs, right? And there's been a lot of false ones, right? In 448, there was a Jewish man that appeared on Crete announcing that he was Moses. I don't know if people are aware of this, but and he said that he was going to repeat this on a much larger scale than Moses and perform this miracle at the Red Sea, and he would part the waters of the Mediterranean now and lead the Jews of the island, uh, the Jews that were in the island of Drizjud. He wanted to lead them to Judea. So he was going to part this Mediterranean, right? So when the hour had came and it was time for his miracle to be come to fruition, right? He ordered first his followers to jump into the sea, which of course they did, and most of them, or some of them at least, drowned. Many of them drowned in the waves because the waves just overwhelmed them, even if they could swim. So you've had all sorts of fanatical types of beliefs, even down to our days, with people sacrificing them when comets are coming, drinking the Kool-Aid, all of these things we've had during cults, even in our modern times. And a lot of people have thought they were messianic figures, but I truly think there was a Christ. I don't know if his name was Christ. I do think it's possible his name was Michael. Um, but I do think something magical transpired. I hate to use the word magical, but something got imprinted on the soul of humanity when that certain man was crucified. I think certain people that are religious and spiritual can feel that there was a moment where a man was crucified and something transpired within heaven and earth, and that was imprinted on every man and woman and child since then, right? And I think that it's a powerful we lost the coordinates to heaven. And this is one thing that I believe that's in Catholicism and Christianity, is that Christ, or a man, let's say, was brought here by God through the sun, in my opinion, literally through the light. A woman was impregnated by the light. And I don't think it's even just happened once. I think it's happened before in the past. I think it's might have happened for it might have even been summoned by people on this planet for it to happen and for the universe to do this. They might have hijacked even the knowledge of sun and stars and been able to use this technology of God to impregnate women with antichrist type figures. But I do believe that another one was born to help us find the coordinates to heaven that we lost. And you can look at it as coordinates of heaven, or in a science way, you can look at it as we lost the coordinates of a harmonic evolution, right? We evolve, right? And we've lost the coordinates and we're stuck in the sludge. So no longer are we spiritually evolving. No longer is humanity evolving and finding the coordinates to the afterlife to move on. We are stuck in the sludge. And I do believe Jesus was brought back here to point us and find us the lost coordinates of heaven. And he had to be born in the hell dimension and die within the hell dimension so he can dive within and point us the way. And some people's egos, they become spiritually charged, whether it's through an epiphany type of moment or they get some power of knowledge from the universe. And this knowledge makes them think they're some sort of messiah type figure. Their ego takes over. And that's unfortunate because a lot of times this happens. And people, they come upon some sort of awakening within themselves, and the next thing you know, their true ego, not their true ego, but their true self that has been molded and individualized patterns that have been programmed and molded throughout their life, and their ego that has truly shined, it takes over, right? And it becomes about me. And remember, one of the biggest revelations I first had that made me spiritually change in life was realizing it was not about me. And I remember even I had a spiritual experience, and people have I've talked about it before. I'm not going to go off track and talk about it, but I had an event where I literally walked into another reality. Like I saw there was little people in this dimension, all of this, and it was I was in the same park, but another dimension of that park unlocked. And it wasn't from drugs, it wasn't from anything. It was from just a normal occurrence of the planet that I became aware of. It was the same coordinates, but in a slightly different, higher dimension, right? And I witnessed it for a split little minute or two, and I was given a vision, and I was given some knowledge, and during it, I came out of it literally muttering, it's not all about me. It's not all about me. I literally was muttering that afterwards because I was shown the deeper meaning of some things, right? And we wander around thinking of, like poor me, poor how am I this, poor that. But really, there's so much more deeper meaning to why we are here. Then it's not just all about us, right? We are part of a deeper, deeper connection, right? Yeah, it is beautifully snowing outside. It's coming down. I'm probably gonna end up shoveling after the. Let me message Alexander and let him know that I'm on here. Yeah, I just messaged him. Yeah, we're gonna get into it, guys. I don't know if people. I'm gonna give some decodings here and give you guys some info. And I really urge people to sign up to my Patreon. Everybody, strongly urge people to sign up to my Patreon. You could for $2 a month, you got access to some of the great information. And if more people come, I want to start doing a few shows a week. We could do like daily shows for a little while if enough people come. So the more people support, the more time I could spend on the platform because I'd really rather offer my information on Patreon and we could do classes there. There's a lot of stuff I can't talk about here on YouTube because I'll get demonetized. I have to be very careful about the wording I use sometimes, and I'd rather people join up on Patreon. It really would it would be better for all of us. It would be better for all of us. And we won't have any trolls either there. That's for sure. That's definitely for sure. So, hold on, let me lower this, putting this other screen up. So we're gonna break down some things that scholars have been debating about for hundreds of years. And I'm not saying I have all the truth and nobody else has it, but I'm saying a lot of the scholars are only scholars alone. They don't use or are able to access the knowledge of the adepts and spiritual initiates, which was what this right, what a majority of these writings were written for. They were written for and by spiritual initiates and adepts, right? So yeah, there's a lot of times where I put a live link up on Patreon and nobody's there, or I'll put articles up and nobody's reading them, or letting me know it's like discouraging. So I would really love for people to go to Patreon. I have patreon.com/the mystical spiral. There's all different platforms. You can get yourself readings on different platforms, gifts in the mail, all sorts of stuff. But I have like 5 years or more of exclusive articles, videos, all sorts of book recommendations, all sorts of information from my book that I'm writing up on Patreon that I've put up there. You can literally doom scroll all weekend and not run out of new info to go through on my Patreon. So it's totally the best $2 you would spend every month. I mean, please, even if it was $8 or more a month, it's still the best $8. I mean, guys, even the pendants and the crystals and all the gemstones I have on my website, I spent a lot of time getting the most ethically hand sourced stuff, and I put a lot of work, decades of work into being able to construct the most powerful tensor royal qubits, right? And different stuff. It's taken me a long time to construct my ideas and my work to be able to do this. And you guys can go to the restaurant or bar and blow $100 or $200 just in one night and have really nothing to show for it. Where for the same price, you can get a lifelong companion and and product for your mind, body, and soul for real. And that's not a sales pitch. That's the truth. That's the why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I left working in jobs that you're just punching in every day, where I can actually do something where people all over the world have access from stuff that I'm creating with my hands and some of the things that the nature and the universe creates on our planet to help us and teach us and give us knowledge. And that's what crystals and gemstones are for. They really are for the health and knowledge and perseverance and perseverance and not only the perseverance of humanity, but to preserve the knowledge as well, not just striving for humanity to succeed and flourish, but also for the health and protection of humanity, the balance and harmonic health of the frequency of the planet is in jeopardy. And this is why crystals and gemstones are calling out certain light workers to work with them because literally the crystals and all the minerals and all the stuff that's embedded in the planet, right? Minerals, all the rocks and stone and dirt and bone, everything that's embedded within the planet is embedded and it's keeping a specific vibrating frequency, right? Everything has that noom energy, right? Every object, whether it's animate or inanimate, has a certain frequency and vibration and energy and motion to it, whether people think about it or not, right? And there's a certain energy that exists within all objects, right? And crystals, especially stone and crystals, I believe are here on the planet to help maintain and record the frequency and knowledge of the planet. And because of humans' technologies, because of humans' creations, we've been blocking crystals from doing their job on this planet, literally from our own technologies. So now crystals are literally calling out for us to work with them so we can help them facilitate the job that they're not able to bring about. And light workers are being called to work with these crystals to access the ancient knowledge within them and to reawaken the angel inside of you. And this is true. And this is what everybody on the planet, when you might first see a crystal and think it's just a shiny, beautiful mineral, and that's why you're first picking it up or using it. But once your ego starts to get chipped away in life and you get a little bit more humble, then you start to feel the energy of what's going on. The five portal ritual opening in Rome. Well, that's a whole nother topic we can get into in another time. But are you talking about prophecies that are coming true right now in Rome? I'll look it up. What you're talking about? Yeah, the Pope. What they're doing rituals right now. They're always doing rituals. This is a powerful time right now. Very powerful, especially this year. And usually they go into the outskirts of Rome into the Albound Hills of Lake Nemi in those areas that I speak of to do their rituals. So some of the rituals are not done at the Vatican. They're done within the sacred groves around Rome. And also the Tiber River, a lot of it is done with as well. Now, anytime you do a ritual of any sort, you have to negotiate with the Gregori, the Watchers, right? They're the guardians of the dimensional planes. They're the guardians of the stargates and portals into dimensions, you know, and there's all sorts of levels of them, right? Even when you're doing any sort of spiritual work, they're there present, right? And to open up a doorway, there's negotiations that transpire, you know? So whether you are aware of them or not, they're they're present, even if you can't see them or know they're present. Lake Nemi is the sacred grove in the Albound Hills. There's a sacred grove around Lake Nemi. Lake Nemi is the man-made lake that is there. And Caligula famously put barges on Lake Nemi, at one time. And Lake Nemi is a place where the ancient temple of Diana was in the sacred grove around there for many, many years. And there's underground tunnels there. And it's a sacred grove of the gods, right? It's a very, very sacred grove that they called Diana's Mirror. They called Lake Nemi Diana's Mirror, and they called the grove around Lemmy's uh, Lake Nemi, like the sacred grove, the holy woods, right? A lot of people think that Hollywood is a representation and copy of Lake Nemi. Even the hills of Hollywood, very, very similar looking to the Alban Hills. Um, but it's the sacred grove with the sacred oak tree as well. And there was all sorts of rituals done. They also had a seat of the Sibyl that most people don't know about within built into the hills of the mountains of Lake Nemi. This is a volcanic, ancient, extinct volcanic region. That's a volcanic crater, Lake Nemi. And of course, the ancient Nephilim races and tribes, they built all of their sacred places in volcanic regions, right? And most of them had to do with being sound temples as well, right? So where's Cancer Moon? Well, you know what, Cancer Moon, we'll do a quick reading for you because I don't know how long you can stay. And so I usually use crystal skulls to help access knowledge and pull some memory from the planet as well. So I'm going to use a specific crystal skull. Is there any specific crystal that you like, piece Cancer Moon? Then I'll see if I have a specific crystal skull of that crystal that you like, and we can see what comes up. I have all sorts of different crystal skulls we can use. I got all different sizes as well. So, is there any specific one that you're into? Any certain crystal? Amber or green tourmaline? Oh my God, you're killing me. I don't have a skull of amber. No. I do have amber though itself. Green tourmaline. I don't have a green tourmaline skull either. Jesus Christ, you got to hit me with like real unique skulls. I do have some green tourmaline. Um, Just Himalayan quartz. Himalayan quartz is rare. Uh, I do have raw tourmaline pieces though. If you'd want me to use that, I can use it. It might not be as I might not get as potent of connection just using a random specimen, but I can try using a tourmaline specimen. But if you want me to use the tourmaline specimen, I can try working with a tourmaline specimen because I'm already getting something coming to me already. And this is John Paris. Very, very. I'm already getting some stuff coming to me already. But what would you like? Would you want me to try with the tourmaline specimen, or you want me to get to like a Himalayan quartz skull, black obsidian? Yeah. Once again, you guys can donate right at PayPal if you guys would like to support me, and if you guys would like an on-air reading as well. I'm getting like a name coming to me too with you. I'm also like getting a weird connection with Jerusalem imagery. Um, so the word that's coming to me, I'm gonna write this down. Let me get the skull too for you. Which sounds good? You want me to do the tourmaline piece? I'll get a tourmaline piece. I'll use a tourmaline piece that I've worked with before. One of my own pieces of tourmaline. All right. So this has green in it and watermelon in it. This is my own piece of tourmaline that I work with. Let me take out the bright light so you could see. This is a beautiful natural piece of tourmaline. It's got the green in it as well, and it's got watermelon colors, the green and the pink. Or this is, I'll show you guys. I don't know if you guys can see the green too much, but this is all green. This is one of my favorite pieces that I work with. So is there anything that you'd like me before I tell you what's coming up for me? Is there anything that you'd like me to focus on as well? Because I had a word that came to me, and what's is very interesting is that it's I don't know exactly how to spell it, but it's like Marbuda. Marbuda is like Marbuda maybe or Budda, Marbuda, which is something related to Chaldean astronomy. I just don't know specifically exactly what it's related to, but it has to do with a Chaldean name. And that was what's coming to me, Marbuda. It was coming to me that name. But that's what came first. But if there's anything you'd like me to focus on too, like before we go even deeper with the reading, is there any like specific topic that you're asking questions about? Because I could do sort of like a mental tarot once I get the connection here. Um, any specific questions that you'd like answered or something that you're thinking about or something specific? Yeah, Marbuda, which I think has to do with a coordinate within Chaldean astronomy, but I have to look it up again. I've seen the word before. It came to me, but Marbuda. Well, I don't know exactly if you have anything to focus on, but for me, Cancer Moon, I'm getting a Two of Pentacles vibe, sort of. If like, and this is very interesting because this means that like some sort of good news is arriving basically with that, right? You're either going to get like some money or some sort of compensation or some sort of check in the mail or someone's going to give you a wow, well, it is wow, Christmas, duh. Christmas is right here. But it usually has to do with like getting a jewelry or getting like a necklace or something. It's usually about a small profit gain, right? A lucky coin or something or something that is going to bring you a small gain in life and a leg up in things, right? So that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting. That's coming with you, but I don't know. if there's anything specific else that you'd want me to focus on, because what surrounds that symbolism is very important. You want to stop being a perfectionist and have a good year and get my creative process going. Have Sardinia DNA to which connects me to you, but because I want to know my origins. Very interesting. So I was getting like ancient Jerusalem Canaanite type energies. So maybe that is Phoenician sort of traveling over from that area to Sardinia. Huh, and Chaldean sort of name was coming to me. So Marbuda could be sort of related to Chaldean, your Sardinian connection, because they had a lot of that knowledge that came there, even ancient Sanskrit knowledge that's within Sardinia that was brought over by Aryan tribes, right? Really incredible. But also the symbolism that's coming over that's involved with it is, I guess you could say, a temperance sort of vibe, right? The key of 14 in tarot. Now, this is a very, very interesting card when you think about the temperance card. And this is the sort of symbolism that I'm seeing coming up for you, accompanied with the what we just talked about prior, right? So not only will you sort of get that good news, but there's also something that's accompanied with it, and it has nothing to do with a male or female. It has to do with something spirit, right? With spirit that's entering into matter as either money or some sort of physical manifestation of profit for you, right? And it's a life force that's being generated from the spiritual realms, and it's not from a male or human or female human, right? It's being even if it might come through that form, it's being generated spiritually for you. It's an angel of time that's bringing patience and harmony. And winter will pass, and then the blossoming of spring will bring you the stream of life, and then it goes on, right? So there's going to be this winter for you, and then as spring comes, the stream of life will really start to hit for you. And it's also telling you to use moderation in all you do, avoid extremes, and you can do sort of uh, experiments and try new adventures during this time, right? This is the time to not hesitate to get your freaking toes wet in things, right? This is what I'm getting right now. And you got to keep your foot planted firmly, like like a firm tree, right? Like a tribal tree. And you got to keep that planted and be firm and strong like that tree, and you got to, it also is talking about organizational ability, right? Management, trying out different combinations until you hit the right one, right? This is what's getting to me, and measuring and mixing all the different ingredients of your life into a happy, harmonious combination, right? That's what this temperance vibe and card is bringing for you. It's telling me after winter is the stream of life hitting you very hard, very hard, really intentionally. And that word Marbuda, it has to do with your origins and your prior history on this planet, right? And how you arrived on this planet, your star origins. And most likely it's a coordinate in the cosmos, and this coordinate was named the Murbuda by the Chaldeans. All right. So I think that's good for the $5 donation. If I come up with something else that comes to me during it, then we'll go back to you. But bro, thank you so much for your donation. I hope you have a happy holiday. Thank you for supporting my channel, and love you, man. Thank you. I hope that resonated. I'm gonna put this away. I'm gonna put this out in the sun later for to recharge. All right, so let's get into Gilgamesh too, because we're gonna get into some interesting breakdowns this morning, right? We're just getting started now. We still got some time. We're gonna get into some of the most and earliest stories of some of the most important stories of ancient lore that have to do with Gilgamesh, that has to do with Michael, with Indra, all these solar heroes, right? Moonstone for Cancer Moon. Yeah, we got a Moonstone skull as well. We could even look into the Moonstone skull a little bit for Cancer Moon. All right, we got a nice Moonstone skull here. I don't know if you guys can see the beautiful Moonstone flash all over this too. I love this bad boy. It's got like the blue and gold flash all over it. But I don't know if it's hard to see on the it's probably too hard to see on here. Look at you guys see this, right? This is the Herkimer diamond right here. Big old Herkimer diamond. You guys should see some of the Herkimer diamonds I wrapped too. Oh, you guys check this out. This is brand new I made too. It's up on the website. This is kyanite, piece of kyanite wrapped in the silver copper. This is badass. It's a really nice piece. Yeah. I got all sorts of Herkimers. Guys, check this Herkimer out. You want to see a badass Herkimer wrapped? Oh, this one is actually pink lithium quartz. This one right here too. I got little ones of Herkimers too. These little ones, these are really badass Herkimers right here. Yeah, if you guys are into Herkimer diamonds, I showed you the guys some of the ones up on the website. But we got all sorts of Herkimer diamonds here, hand sourced from upstate New York. I'll show you guys what I mean by some of these. I got all sizes as well. Check out this one. This actually has a hydro water bubble inside, rainbow. It's double terminated. Real amazing. It dwarfs my necklace. This one's huge. Charlotte, I gave you a free if Charlotte's still listening out there or watching, I gave you a free Herkimer diamond for your holidays. I shipped it out yesterday. And some of them have the interesting double terminated. Like look at this one. Bomb ass Herkimer. Probably my favorite type of quartz. And think about if you wanted this wrapped as a pendant, this would look so badass wrapped in even the twisted copper or the twisted silver. So Oh, my other pendant's upstairs, but you could do it in the twisted copper and twisted silver as well. This one's not twisted. I like it in both ways. Don't forget to tap that like button, everybody. Just for my outfit alone, you gotta tap that like button. Styling. Oh, and I have one out of the whole bunch that I have of Herkimers that actually was a full-on like smoky quartz Herkimer. Check this. Hand sourced Herkimer smoky quartz. So cool. Really beautiful. But we got a lot of Herkimers here, man. We got a lot of Herkimers for sale. And some of them are very unique and there's all levels. I have ones from $10 to $1,000. That's how different of quality. Look at that bad boy. You guys can see the petroleum deposits in this one. Really cool. These only come from New York, these ones. They're specific for New York. Double terminated. Beautiful. Look at the rainbow in that as well. So what's up with Gilgamesh? Guy doesn't want to see my crystals. Don't worry, I'm getting to it, brother. Don't worry. I started talking about Hercules for a minute. Yeah, some of these little ones are just as cool too, and some of them are I love the double terminated. All different sizes. Yeah, look at that sucker. All right. Let me put this stuff away real quick. Where did I put the Oh, I put the smoke quarter thing down here. All right, who else is down for readings? Who else is down for readings? Let me see if anybody else had donated too. Where's Alexander? It's all good, Randall. All right. So we're gonna use a few different writings when we go over these topics. So I don't know if anybody has any published translations of Assyrian writings or of um writings of Sumerian or translations of the biblical archaeology series or records of the past or any of that. If you guys do have some of the translations, you guys can follow along with me. But we're going to use a couple of different stories today to tie a few translations together and to give you guys a little bit more clear, in my opinion, translation of the true origins of this knowledge. What they, and maybe not the exact, of course, but I think more in the realm of what they're talking about. And I didn't. Oh, you did donate, bro? I didn't see yet. Hold on. Oh, no doubt, Isaac did donate. Shout out to Isaac. You know, sure you don't want a reading, brother? Do a quick reading. You got to go. Thank you so much. Shout out to Isaac. He donated the 1111 code. Much love, brother. Happy New Year's. So I feel like we got to do the black obsidian for you, brother, real quick. The black obsidian for you and what comes up for you. It's got to be the black obsidian for you, right? We got the black obsidian crystal ball that comes for you right now, dude. Right? So you gotta stay for that, or you're just gonna go. You gotta go now, because I'm already getting some vibes with you, bro. Come on, you can't leave yet. Let's go. All right. So the wildness is about to come back in your life, bro. Like the ability to embrace pleasures as part of being human is about to come back in your life. I feel like that you might even be traveling with a deeper joy during this. Like when you do your daily life, you're moving around and it's gonna be like an ecstasy that helps connect you to the divine, right? For sure, bro. And it's really strong, really strong. And I think that you're gonna have like an extreme happiness coming in your life, almost like a dancing type. Your spirit's gonna be dancing. You're gonna turn on the music and you're gonna hear things and it's gonna bring stuff out of you that you've needed to come out in a long time. This needs to happen as well. You need to bring back certain pleasures in your life that have you been missing, right? Yep, this is about to happen, bro. I'm telling you. And it's gonna bring more connections to the divine for you because that Wheel of Fortune energy is upon you as well, right? And this could be the key of 10 in Caro, right? The Wheel of Fortune, and it's mainly about, you know, growth, progress, travel. Life itself in general is a gamble. It's a wheel of fortune, right? And this turn of events is what that symbolism is discussing that I'm getting, right? It's in one's life, you're gonna constantly turn. It's gonna go from top to bottom, top again and down, elation to despair, right? It's gonna everything passes, right? The wheel turns, and the constant thing in life that is changing is always turning and changing, and it's gonna turn for the better now. I think that you're in a new location as well. You moved in a new location, and it's like a opening a different doorway in your life. It's opening a different portal within you, right? Not, I don't think even per se in the environment that you live. It's the change of location opened the portal within you. It's in within you yourself. And it's you're never gonna go in a straight line in life. It's always gonna go sideways and this way and that way. But this symbolism I'm getting for you right now has to do with fate. It has to do with unexpected twists and turns that's going to happen in life. And it implies that the man that's always steering that wheel of fortune has his own mind to rise above all of the adversities, and the wheel turns and the life goes on, and the wheel has brought you to where you're going to be right now. And it's about, if you open up yourself, you're going to see more pleasures, more pleasures that you've been missing out on and holding out on is going to come into your life naturally without realizing it, because that hermit vibe is also there, right? That hermit card, and it's right next to the Wheel of Fortune card is the hermit card. It's right before it, right? Right before it in tarot, right? That symbolism of the key of 9 into the key of 10. right? And with the hermit, it's about seeking what you seek it and you find it, right? Knock on the door is going to be open to you, right? You ever see the symbol of the hermit card in the traditional tarot? Most of them have him holding the lantern, right? And every person has to find his own way and his own truth in life. The search for self, the search for your identity, the search for your self-esteem. Usually, when you find yourself, to find yourself, it's a lonely road. It's a lonely one when you're looking for your identity because you're only going to find it through yourself, right? We're all alone in that sanctuary and temple of our minds and our heads and our, right? And others and their opinions and their even their praise of us is not going to give us real sense of value. It gives us an illusion, right? So they can't take anything away from your value either. Remember that. Their thoughts and their, right? So that hermit, he gazes into the darkness of being alone. The fool card is the one that looks towards the morning light and is in the light and gets fooled. But the hermit, he's able to go into the darkness and find himself, right? And the darkness there's an old saying, right? All the darkness in the world cannot hide the light of the littlest candle, right? There's that saying. All the darkness in the world can't hide the light of the littlest candle. And remember that. I know you got to go, brother. Thank you for your donation and I love you, brother. Have a good day, man. So let's go on now. Let's see if anybody else has donated too. Um Shout out to people that support the channel as well. If anybody that can't donate or whatever, we can still do a quick reading for you guys and stuff too. Don't worry. But we'll get into the Gilgamesh. I know people are waiting. So, um, it's not just about Gilgamesh. We're gonna be talking about one of the most important stories in sacred writings. And that's about the dragon and the slaying of the dragon stories. And this is about, in my opinion, solar storms coming to the planet and eliminating the evil on Earth and slaying the dragon that's preventing the storm from coming to the planet. Now, we have a magnetic shield on our planet that stops the sunstorms from coming in. But when the sun slays the dragon, it allows for that ever changing light to come on in. Now, one of the stories that's never discussed about this is from the Epic of the Gilgamesh, but it's Gilgamesh and the Hulapoo tree, right? And it's part of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Now, if people don't know what the Epic of Gilgamesh is, this was first rediscovered, and it's part of the in the 1840s. But it's part of the library of Ashur-banipal from Nineveh, right, Mesopotamia. And in the 1840s, it was first rediscovered and found, refound, or for whatever you want to say, right? It was about 10 to 15,000 fragments of Assyrian cuneiform type tablets in this library. The British Museum then hired different people to translate, like George Smith, to study these fragments, right? And then in the 1870s, you had George Smith and various organizations like the Society of Biblical Archaeology. Then the Society of Biblical Archaeology also hired like Samuel Birch and different people to translate. And George Smith was one of the main guys that translated, right? And in 1872, Smith translated a fragment of the flood story and he read it before the Society of Biblical Archaeology, and then they first translated those in like the 1875, 1876 time. And these are the first copies that I have as well. Right, when I have the copies that are from the first publications from the 1870s. Now, the discovery of the Epic of Gilgamesh, it also drew out a lot of biblical connections and connections to older Sumerian stories. And the Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the oldest that we have that's known on the planet. I mean, it's literally ancient cuneiform type writing that's from maybe before 2000 BC, right? And then you have Akkadians versions as well that are even more complete, but they date from maybe like 700 BC, right? And Gilgamesh and the Hulapu tree is a poem that's part of these uh, Epic of Gilgamesh tablets. And it's considered part of the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? And it's specifically a Sumerian poem where Gilgamesh and Inanna, the goddess, the queen of heaven, are very, very interesting accounts of what's transpiring. But the translations, I think, are not correct, right? They're giving you maybe the mainstream definition of some of these words. But you see, these writings are very, I'm not an expert in translating these writings in any way, right? But I was using some of my intuition with it as well and looking deeper into it. And the way they're translating some of the phrases can be taken several ways. And if you get the first person that actually published Gilgamesh and the Hulu Putri, though, was Samuel Kramer, right? You had another guy who translated Sumerian, Samuel Birch, who translated Assyrian and other writings as well. But Samuel Kramer was the one who published the part of the poem that is Gilgamesh and the Hulu Putri. And we're going to use the studies from the Oriental Institute of the University of Chicago, Syriology Studies, and this was published by the Chicago Press in this is Seriological Studies number 10, and this was published, I think, in the early 1900s. Let me see if there's a writing. This one was published in the early 1900s. How come they don't have a writing on here? Oh, this was published. I can't barely see it. April 1938. This one was published. All right, printed in Germany by blah 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 from New York, right? So this is the Samuel Kramer translations from the Gilgamesh and the Hoopoe. It's a reconstructed Sumerian text. So I'm going to use those translations for this story. Now, this is one of the oldest stories of slaying the dragon, right? You have different stories. You even have Archangel Michael stories with him slaying a dragon. You have Indra slaying Vitra, Tiamat and Marduk, right? All these dragon stories. Now, the text of a Sumerian tablet from these are from that contains part of this Gilgamesh epic. This was published first in the Review of Assyriology, and this one is very interesting. And this sort of, you know, they use certain things, especially the Euphrates River, and unfortunately, they're being translated as waters on earth. And in my opinion, not all of them are doing this, but this writing in specific is talking about the cosmic origins or the original Euphrates River, which is from the cosmos. Now, a lot of the rivers on earth, including the Nile, were named after their cosmic counterpart, right? The Nile was named after supposedly even the Eridanus River, which ironically is not even in the Egyptian sky. It's below the horizon. But um, even the River Po of Rome, I mean of Italy, is looked at as being part of named after the cosmic coordinate of Eridanus River. Like it was, right? So usually rivers on Earth are named after rivers of the sky, right? It's so I actually think when they mean when they say the Euphrates River in these writings of the Gilgamesh and the Hulapu tree, they're actually talking about a cosmic river, cosmic waters, and it has nothing to do with the Euphrates River or an actual tree. The actual hula tree that they're referencing, which can translate as a willow tree, a weeping willow, even a moving weeping willow, also can be looked at as the dynamic movement and structure of our magnetic shield, magnetosphere, and our magnetic you got the magnetopause, you got the different regions within the magnetosphere, and the way the magnetosphere moves is like a sideways weeping willow tree. It totally looks like that. And I could show you guys that when I pull up pictures. And I actually think many scholars were saying this might be the first origins of the willow, the origins of the word weeping willow is in this writing. And I actually don't think it means a weeping willow tree in the sense that they're saying, though. In fact, these wooden objects at the end of the story that are magical of significance that they make out of this tree that's called puku and miku. I don't think they're actual wooden objects either. I think they're actually made from something that was not wood, right? They're something of cosmic in origin, and it's being mistranslated. And the freaking dragon that they're discussing is not a dragon in any sense as well, but a region that swallows the light of the sun that's within the magnetosphere, right? So we're going to get into this, and there's all sorts of symbolism in here, and all sorts of, I mean, to sum it up, the slaying of the dragon story with Gilgamesh and the Hulu tree talks about heaven and earth being separated, right? And man being created. And after Anu and Enlil and Irshikagal have taken charge of heaven, earth, and the other world, Anki sets sail for the netherworld. And then the sea rages with foam, and in honor of its lord, on that day, a hulupu tree was planted on the banks of the Euphrates and nourished by its waters, and then it was uprooted by the south wind and carried off by this Euphrates River. Now, a goddess wandering along the bank then seizes this so called floating tree, and at the word of Anu and Enlil, she brought it to Inanna, or Ishtar, however you want to translate Inanna. It's there. Ishtar and Inanna is basically the same being. Who's They brought it to Inanna in the garden of Uruk, Uruk, right? Uruk. And Inanda, she tends to this tree. She takes care of it carefully, lovingly, and she hopes that it's going to make a good throne and bed for herself, right? And after 10 years had passed, almost 11 years now, we're talking about a solar cycle. The tree had matured. Inanna, then, to her jargon, found herself unable to realize her hopes. For in the meantime, a dragon had set up its nest at the base of the tree. And then this zoo bird comes along, places his young in the crown of the tree, and it in its midst of the crown, the demoness Lilith builds her home. But Gilgamesh, he informs Inanna, he's informed of Inanna's distress, and he rushes to her aid, and making light of his weighty, very weighty armor that he had on, he's able to slay the dragon with his huge golden bronze axe, which is 7 talents and 7 minas in weight, how they describe it. And then the zoo bird flees with his young to the mountainous landscape while Lilith is terror stricken, tear downs her house, and escapes to the deserts. Now, after this, Gilgamesh then he had uprooted his liberated floated tree. His followers, who are the men of Uruk, they cut down its trunk and gave part of it to Inanna for her throne and bed. And the remainder of the tree, Gilgamesh makes for himself Puku and Miku, these two magical so called wooden objects. And that's pretty much the gist of the translations from Samuel Kramer, right? Now, I'm saying a lot of this is incorrect and mistranslated because of the symbolism. There's very similar goddesses in Egypt and Sumerian and Hindu and all over by different names. So you have all sorts of queens of heaven: Inanna, Ishtar, Astarte, Ashtaroth, Anath, Atargatis, Sekhmet, Neith. I mean, all over the planet, you have these different names that have the same sorts of beings, all set, right? Um, so now to break this down in Sumerian would be ridiculous to start saying, but these words can be translated in many different ways, especially um, just translating. I mean, we could go through it. Like when the first line, because the first few lines of this tablet are lacunas, which means that there's lines missing or spaces missing. And the first 5, 6 lines are pretty much intelligible and most of them missing. So on the actual poem tablet of Gilgamesh and the Hula Tree, we don't actually come to a full sentence until line 7. And this is where it says, after heaven had moved away from earth in the translation. Now, that is in Sumerian, Ua Enki Ta Barabad Duaba. That is basically saying, after heaven had moved away from earth. Then you have Ki An Taba Dasur Iaba. That's after earth had been separated from heaven. Right, so I'm not going to read all the Sumerian, but that is the breakdown. They have this and that. Now it gets tricky because when you get the more detailed sentences, they can be phrased in many different ways. You can take it, and the symbolism is very interesting. And the ones that they're talking about that are part of the storms are attributed, I think, to the Vedic Maruts, right? These solar storm deities that can bring, destruction on our planet. Who else is in there? Let me check. Let me check to see. I just got some emails. Let me make sure people see if anybody had donated for a reading. Where's my boy Alexander? Shout out to Alexander. I'll say out here because he donated over $50 today. So shout out to Alexander. I'm sending him pendants too, but I was hoping he was gonna come in the chat. How cool is Alexander? Literally lives outside in the cold. Doesn't have a home. He's living in a tent. And he's friggin' donating in chat rooms and stuff. I'm telling you, he's in that situation for a reason. He's like an angel. That tree, in my opinion, represents the magnetic shield around our planet that's surrounded by water. All right? It separates heaven from earth. It separates the waters. And this is one of the main topics in my book. Now, this isn't the only story that talks about the dragon or even confronting a dragon or even for that matter um the ever turning flame of God, right? Stories, right? Or dragon stories in general, right? Because you have these all throughout history. Incredibly, you have these all throughout history. Now, another story, we'll go back to Gilgamesh and the Hula tree in a minute because we're going to break down the translation of it. But another story you have that is very interesting. We can go to the Society of Biblical Archaeology. This was published in 1877. These are some of the translations of the Society of Biblical Archaeology, Volume 5, 1877. Right? So this is this was translated by Mr. Talbot, and this is about the fight between. See it? Can you see the? You can't see it. This is about the fight between Bel and the dragon, a hula tree. Hula. I'll type it in the chat room for you guys. The Gilgamesh and the hula tree. Two P's, I believe. Not a story that many people talk about here or anywhere when it comes to Gilgamesh. And to me, it's one of the most interesting parts of the Gilgamesh epic stories. And not many people know about it or even talk about it. And to me, it's one of the most important stories in the epics of Gilgamesh. But you also have the story of the fight between Bel and the dragon and the flaming sword which turns every way, the ever turning flame of God. Now, this is also talked about in this is also talked about in the Bible, right? In the Bible, we have the ever turning flame of God. It's in Genesis 3:24 concerning the cherubim, the cherubim, right? And you also have the Ophanim, these spinning wheels, flaming wheels of fire that have eyes everywhere. And now, if that's not talking about a coronal mass ejection, a wheel of the sun breaking off of the sun that can see and turn every which way, then I don't know what is. But in the story of Bel and the dragon, it's the fight between Bel and this dragon. This is one of the most striking narratives of the Chaldean mythology. It's incredible. Thank you, my love, Magic Micah, who makes the best, most beautiful children on the planet. The fight between Bel and the dragon is really incredible story of Chaldean mythology. And it's found on a tablet in plates 44 and 45 of the Assyria book from Dilish, right? And placed a plate for and translated from a Chaldean tablet by H.F. Talbot on, and it was read in front of the Society of Biblical Archaeology first on March 7th, 1876, and then published on Volume 5 on June 1876. And then this Society of Biblical Archaeology published it in 1877. Now, Plate 45 describes the battle with intense animation and the weapons which Bel, the solar deity. Now, Bel is a solar deity. Remind us that. Although it's not said specifically that it's a solar deity in this tablet, Bel is recognized as overall a solar deity. So you have a solar deity. So weapons that it wields would be weapons of the sun. So a sword coming from Bel is a sword of fire. It's called a flaming sword, literally. So remember, this is a flaming sword that comes from the sun. And in plate 45 here, we describe a battle with all of this detail and animation and the weapons which Bel wields, which are numerous, formidable. They are by far the most curious was the flaming sword which turns every way, north, south, east, west, everything, and no one can escape from it. Like I said, this completely resembles the strong sword of the cherubim in Genesis, which turns every way and keeps people away from the tree of life. Right? It's a celestial weapon. It's a weapon of the sun. And this is the same weapon that Gilgamesh wields, as Gilgamesh is a solar hero. And in the hands of Bel, the beneficent deity that he is in the story, he creates mankind as well. And what happens in the story? He brings a thunderbolt from the sun. Let's read a few lines of this story before we'll get we'll do plate 44 and 45 of the fight between Bel and the dragon for people. All right? I'll read it through. I won't translate what I think it is yet. I'll just read it through. Right? This is front of the tablet, plate 44. First line's broken, unintelligible. Second line has half of is a lacuna. Now remember, lacuna means it's missing, right? So half of line 2 is a lacuna. The second half says, and with it, his right hand he armed. Now from line 3, we pretty much got full sentences. Line 3 starts, his flaming sword he raised in his hand. He brandished his. I'm not going to read 4 or 5, so I'm not going to read the line number, but we're starting with line 3. Every sentence is a line. He flaming. I'll make a pause when it's done with the line. His flaming sword he raised in his hand. He brandished his lightnings before him. Oh my God. Such solar symbolism. All right. I won't make any intro. He brandished his lightnings before him. A curved scimitar he carried on his body. And he made a sword to destroy the dragon, which turned 4 ways, so that no one could avoid its rapid blows. It turned to the south, to the north, to the east, to the west. Take care, Randall. Thanks for your comments, good or otherwise. Good to have you here, brother. It's been a pleasure. It's great to see you, man. Although I didn't see you. Great to have you there. Uh, it turned to the south, to the north, to the east, and to the west. Near to his saber he placed the bow or bow of his father Anu. He made a whirling thunderbolt, a bolt with double flames, impossible to extinguish, and a quadruple bolt, and a septuple bolt, and a and a and then there's a lacuna bolt, and a bolt of crooked fire. A bolt of crooked fire. That is a coronal loop. Let me go on. He took the thunderbolts which he had made, and there were 7 of them, to be shot at the dragon, and he put them into his quiver behind him. Then the Lord of the Storm raised his great sword. He mounted his chariot, whose name was Destroyer of the Impious. Impious. He took his place and lifted the 4 reins in his hand. Magnetic field lines. Then the rest of the portion of the inscription is pretty much broken off on the tablet. Then you have the reverse of the tablet, which is plate 45. Now, Bel is now offering the dragon to decide their quarrel by single combat, which the dragon accepts. Right? So, this is how they're translating it. Why seekest thou thus to irritate me with blasphemies? Let thy army withdraw, let thy chiefs stand aside. Then I and thou alone we will do battle. When the dragon heard this, stand back, she said, and repeated her command. Then the tempter rose watchfully on high. Turning and twisting, she shifted her standing point. She watched his lightnings. She provided for retreat. The warrior angels sheathed their swords. Then the dragon attacked the just prince of the gods. Strongly they joined in the trial of battle. The king drew his sword and dealt rapid blows. Then he took his whirling thunderbolt and looked well behind and before him. And when the dragon opened her mouth to swallow him, he flung the bolt into her before she could shut her lips. The blazing lightning poured into her inside. He pulled out her heart. Her mouth he rent open. He drew his sword and cut open her belly. It also can mean falchion. He drew his falchion and cut open her belly. He cut into her inside and extracted the heart. He took vengeance on her and destroyed her life. When he knew she was dead, he boasted over her. And after the dragon, their leader, was slain, her troops took to flight. Her army was scattered abroad. The angels, her allies, who had come to help her, retreated, grew quiet, and went away. They fled, fearing for their own lives, and saved themselves, flying to places beyond pursuit. He followed them. Their weapons he broke up. Broken they lay, and in great heaps they were captured. A crowd of followers, full of astonishment, its remains lifted up, and on their shoulders hoisted, and the 11 tribes pouring in after the battle, in great multitudes coming to see, gazed at the monstrous serpent. And there's all missing lacunas now. That's line 35, and then line 36, it says, "And the god Bel," and then all missing lacunas, and then the rest of the tablet is lost. The 32nd line is very obscure. The word 11 is written in word at length and very distinctly. It's written Istin Irsrit, which means 1 and 10. Very interesting way to say 11, which is the Hebrew term for 11, but so that there can be no doubt about the word, they wrote it. And 12 is usually the sacred number with the tribes, so they're leaving one out. So maybe during this solar storm, one of those tribes was eliminated. Now, this is very, very interesting, this story as well. We're going to do part 2 later today of this Bel and the Dragon story and everything else. And we even will do more readings for people if they want to join. I'm going to go eat breakfast, and take a little break. And we're gonna do part two. I will announce what time, but we're gonna do streams all Christmas Eve and Christmas Day throughout the time. Right? I'll spend some time with the family, then come back live. So stick around, everybody. You can find me at the Mystical Spiral store. Everybody, check out these sales that we have up available for you guys. Hold on. Let me get rid of this stuff. Check out. We got 25% coupon code up, and already prices are already slashed and on sale. So add 25% to the already on sale items. And we got some of the best products. Look at this twisted copper wrapped Herkimer diamond. What? Insane. Insane. And plus, look at all this, even the tiger's eye one. Where's the tiger's eye one I did the other day? This tiger's eye one is so dope, and it's on sale for $89.99. Plus, you get 25% off the $89.99. And it comes with necklace material and a free gift. And you guys can see the beautiful tiger's eye on this. Look at that shining. Doesn't even do it justice. So, huge deal on all these products. Thank you, Randall Hill. I'm glad you stayed. Check me out, the Mystical Spiral store. We'll be back live in a few hours, guys. So stay tuned and